Hi, this is Erica DELSIGNORE. I'm the founder of Daily Lead Campaign. We're a lead generation service to help people grow their business by using video marketing and social media marketing. And you are watching Great Minds, Great Marketing, an interview series that I have created to share with my entrepreneurial community the excellent marketing ideas of some of the great minds out there. And today I am incredibly excited to introduce you to Dr. Hashimoto at Desert Care Chiropractic. I say that right.
Yeah, it's Desert Medical Care, but yes.
Desert Medical Care, sorry, you just told me that. So what I wanted to tell you about Doctor, he is incredible with his marketing and also with organizing his life so that he can get more done. Um, he's a member of one of my masterminds, the Peak Performers Group over at GKIC, and we've talked about how he's been able to overcome life and get a lot of things done with his organization, as well as the organization of his marketing plan. So we're going to tell you more about that. I'd like to talk first about how you got into this. I know you have a story that started off kind of rough and kind of changed your life. So if you would be so kind as to start off with introducing yourself and um, telling us how you got into chiropractic services.
Well, it actually started a long time ago. I grew up in a lower class rural farming community, so believe it or not, most people are shocked when they hear that. And I I was always appreciative of what I had, but I always kind of wanted more. Going throughout my life, I never had choices. The type of beans, the type of ketchup, the type of meat, the type of cereal we always purchased as a family, it wasn't, it was not because it was the one we wanted or the brand we wanted, is because it was the cheapest and it would fill us up. So we were, in and out of like food stamps, food bank, that kind of stuff. So, I had a good childhood, but like I had that growing up, and I remember there was a kid in my school that was there for a year, and his dad drove a Mercedes, and then he had a Rolex, and he had a business. And when I was 8 years old, I decided that I came home and I told my mom that I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't know what kind of business I wanted, but I knew that I wanted to have a business owner because this kid, even though he wasn't in my grade, he had choices. Sometimes I wouldn't get to go on that field trip because it cost $25, and my parents couldn't afford to pay $25 for me to go to the zoo and have a lunch and stuff like that. And every single day after baseball practice, or after a game, I usually would say I wasn't hungry. I was really hungry, but my parents didn't give me money for food, so I just didn't eat. So, I would go 3, 4 days, 3, 4 nights a week, and everyone on the team would be eating, and I would just be drinking water, saying I wasn't hungry. So I did that for a long period of time, and then I just started working when I was 10, mowing lawns, doing whatever, and then that just kind of started the hustle. I
Right.
sold things door to door. I sold anything I could think of. Since I was in a farming community, my first entrepreneurial business was I bought a bunch of chickens. I took a loan from my parents, bought a bunch of chickens, raised them, and sold them. And then I used that money and I actually bought some meat cattle, and then I raised those and I sold them. So yeah, I
Wow.
started that really, really early. So that was my first business, and then my first real job was Dairy Queen. It's kind of
Well,
funny.
so did your family have a farm, and this was
Yeah,
just like your sub farm that you had on your own?
yep, that was
Oh, that's so
exactly.
cool.
So as long as I did my parents' chores, I used my money to purchase some of my own, and
Oh,
then yeah. And if for some reason I took a loss on it, I would take the loss on it. But yeah,
wow.
I started hustling way back then, and some of my mom's cousins are dentists, and they were well off. And it's not that it was a driving factor, but I decided that I really wanted to maybe go into healthcare because I wanted to work with people. I was thinking about being a veterinarian, but then I shadowed the veterinarian that came out to the farm a bit, and I decided that I've artificially inseminated enough cattle growing up in my life that
Yeah,
I don't feel like doing that anymore. So
sure.
I thought I'd be a dentist because, some of my mom's cousins are dentists and been around them. So I started shadowing one of their friends who was a dentist, and I actually did pre-dental and undergrad. I was going into dental school, getting accepted into dental school, and then that's when I got in a head-on collision, and I did, the usual thing, emergency room scans, medications, physical therapy, and then the physical therapy helped a bit, but it just at the end of 6 months of doing it, I still had headaches like 3 to 5 times a week. I would have some shooting pains when I looked down for over 20 minutes, and I had a lot of back pain, and occasionally I'd get sciatica, and I was 20 years old. And then that's when my family doctor told me, you need to go see an orthopedic surgeon. And that's when I started to panic because, and knowing what I know today, I know that they would have not done anything. However, when you're 20 years old and you hear someone say, you need to go see an orthopedic surgeon, the last word in his title is surgeon, so I figured maybe he might want to do surgery. So I was a little
Yeah,
naive. My
they
parents
tend.
were, yeah, a little anxious, and my friend's dad, who was going to this type of doctor called a chiropractor. I've heard the word, but I didn't even know what they did. And he said, you need to go see my doctor. And he literally made an appointment. I went to see my first chiropractor. Within my first week, my pain was gone by 50%. And within 2 months, everything was gone. I was feeling better, and my acne had actually cleared up that I had for about 5 years that I was seeing a dermatologist for. And it's not that
Wow.
the chiropractic fixed it. He noticed I had it, and he suggested I made a dietary change. He gave me a diet, told me to get a couple of supplements, got them, and the acne went away. So this guy, for a 20-year-old kid, this dramatically changed my life.
Pretty
I was
amazing.
able
I want to
to,
add something there. My husband thinks that I go to my chiropractor for the common cold and headaches and anything that's wrong with me, and I do. I like, and they fix it. So like I know exactly what you mean when you talk about that. When I discovered chiropractic, it was the best thing ever. So, um,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I totally see them fixing acne or anything else.
yeah. So it was the guy that I went to is more than just a traditional bone popper. So he did that. So it had a very, for a 20-year-old kid to get rid of their acne, that dramatically will change your confidence. And, I
Yeah,
love to run, and I was able to start running again because I couldn't run because I would get a lot of back pain after. And running's kind of, you had, like one of the things you're asking me earlier, what do I do in my free time? And running is something that's kind of my meditation, that's my yoga, that's my Zen. And
yeah,
it's kind of, if I'm in a good mood, I like to run. If I'm in a bad mood, I like to run. If something really bad happened to me, I like to run. So
right.
it makes me feel better. So no
Yeah.
matter what's going on in my life, it always makes me feel better.
And
So,
it's great to have that.
and the car accident took that away from me. So for
Right.
6 months, I wasn't able to really run. So I was a little bummed out, and you're thinking, I'm 20 years old. He's like, what's going to happen? Oh God, 40. Now 40 doesn't seem old anymore, but like, I was thinking 40, 60 and worried about what was going to happen. And then dentists have to sit down. I couldn't sit down for too long without having back pain. And then dentists have to look down like this. And I couldn't look down like that. So I didn't know what was going to happen to me. So yeah, this had a dramatic impact on my life. And yeah, I decided to drop out of dental school before I even went in. That was like the summer before I was going to go into dental school. And then, started in a chiropractic, came to the desert. I always knew that chiropractic was good, but it couldn't solve everyone's problems. We're in a retirement community, so there's a lot of really elderly people. And it's very common for us to have people that have had failed surgical cases that come in, like failed back surgeries, neck surgeries, so they're past the point of no return. Um, a number of my friends are physicians, and I decided that, I will start a medical practice. Talked to one of my friends, is like, would you mind, being the medical director for this? And hired a couple other people I know. So I just, you know, expanded and hired other people. We have physical therapy in the office, we have acupuncture in the office, we have massage in the office. So pretty much if you hurt in a muscle, tendon, bone, or joint, we could help you.
Go
Like,
there. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well,
So
that's
yeah,
great. So
that's the
you've
practice.
covered covered that, and that's an incredible story. You've talked a little bit about your fun and you haven't really told us a lot about your home life, and how that incorporates into the business.
Well, right now I got honestly a lot of things up in the air. So yes, I'm in that group with you. I'm in two other quote unquote like titanium groups for healthcare. And then I have my own mastermind group that I started. And then I'm
Wow.
trying to create a info marketing business, kind of like a lot of the other guys are in Peak.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I'm creating, and I've created my own version of Infusionsoft, like just all the little campaigns in there, and I'm marketing that, and then some Facebook marketing that I've kind of partnered with another guy that is doing the marketing that I want to drive these campaigns. So I'm creating this kind of business right now. So I have a lot of things going up in the air. So really, my free time is just spent with family. Outside
Yeah.
of that, I'm just working or taking care of myself
Or running. Yeah.
or running. So.
Yeah. Good. So, can you tell us about a challenge you might have had in your business that we could all learn from?
Uh, you got to pay attention. Let's see. Probably one of the bigger challenges that I had was early on in business, my first employee, office manager, someone that we broke bread with, someone that we had into our house. She embezzled from us, and she also messed up a bunch of our accounts. And one of the lessons I learned from that is that you can't take yourself out of the business without a number of checks and balances. She
Right.
was more of a professional embezzler, so she embezzled from three veterinary offices before us. She's embezzled from a medical practice. She's forged
Oh,
checks, and she's embezzled from a dental practice, and she's done this under various names.
wow.
And she goes to church and everything, so she plays the part. She's very smart. Even the fraud investigator said that it was the most elaborate embezzlement scheme that he's seen. So she was
Wow.
really, really good. And, I learned that you need to have checks and balances in there. And then she knew me enough that I would typically look at this quick summary view of kind of the money in the accounts and everything that happened for the day, but it doesn't give a lot of detail. And there's a
Right.
more detailed part that my wife usually works with, but she didn't start embezzling with us until we had our first child. So the day my wife was in the hospital giving birth, she
Yeah.
stole $1,000. And it started right there because she knew my wife was not looking at that. So she worked with us for about a year and a half and didn't steal anything that was significant. It might have been 20 or 40 or $60 here cash, but she didn't have the cojones to start doing the other stuff
Oh my
until my wife, because my wife was trying to take herself out so she could be a mom,
God. Right.
and I was trying to do everything, and then that didn't
That's all right.
work. And then, yeah, she knew that, and then she pounced, and then she just started stealing like 1,000 here, 2,000 here, and then eventually she was stealing like 4 to 6, 7, $8,000 a month.
I am so
So,
sorry that happened. How long
yeah.
did it take you guys to get back
It
and
took us like a year and a half to kind of figure it out. Because we were growing, so our production was going up and things were good. It We would have figured it out eventually. It just it just figured it out. Just kind of a couple things looked suspicious. We didn't know what. I had some cameras installed, and then that's when I figured it out. So
oh,
the one thing, like Dan Kennedy in his productivity book, he talks about snooping. You gotta snoop. You
yep,
gotta go in there on a Sunday and you gotta snoop around. You gotta look at their computers. You gotta have cameras. You gotta have checks and balances. And obviously, it's verified trust. And I grew up in a small rural farming community, and you just trust people. That's just kind of the way I grew up. And I remember when I moved into quote unquote the city, when I
yep,
moved in, like lived in Vancouver, Los Angeles, and
right.
Seattle, like I got hustled a couple of times because, I just trusted people.
I
Like I
came from
was,
Maine. I know what you're saying.
like
I used
when
to
I
talk
moved
to
to the
everybody. People will be like, why are you
Yeah,
talking?
or someone says that, I need money for bus fare. I swear to God, I'll mail it back. It's in a
Oh yeah,
newsfeed.
they got some
Here's my address. Give me $20. I swear to God, I'll mail it right down your address. And, I did it and they never mailed it back. And it's unfortunate, but you start to lose faith in mankind. But that was probably, my first big struggle. And then other things is and obviously I've been on Planet Dance since like 2012 at the end of it, but like I have a very obsessive compulsive personality, and when I do something, I go all in. So I just read everything. And he always talks about the danger of one. So that would be like a lot of us have. So like as we're growing as a small business, you have a couple key people, but you might have
right.
one key person that does a lot of things, and losing that person,
Yeah,
those are
devastating.
devastating.
Yep.
Like I had like another thing, I had a key office manager. She got pregnant. She said she was going to come back at 6 months, kept the position open, waiting for her, hiring
Oh,
temps. And then we have our busy season coming up, and she literally told me like a week before our busy season that she wasn't coming back. And yeah, so that was a painful time. And then, just growing pains, employees, but that's life. You just evolve. And another lesson that I kind of learned from that is if I have another great employee that obviously she's having her first baby.
yep.
She had the baby in December, and the thing that I learned is you plan as if she's not going to return. So I will have a position for her when she returns. She's great. I love her. But I put out ads. I've already in the process of finding her replacement. I tried
Exactly.
replacing her with another team member. That is not working out. And that is another lesson is you got to know when to cut your losses. So even
Right.
though this other person is really good in this other role in her position, there's a book called First Break All the Rules, recommended by Dr. Mike in our group, which is a great book, by the way.
Oh,
And one of the
good.
things it talks about is like hiring for talent, which I started doing a while ago. And this other person, she's very good with, say, patients. She's a really good medical assistant. But this other position requires her to do some outbound calls. And
Not good at that.
she is not good at that. She
Okay.
hates it. Therefore, it's like pulling teeth to get her to do that. And if I keep her in this role for too long, this is going to demotivate her constantly every
Right.
single week. And eventually, I'm going to kill two bad positions, right?
Right.
I'm going to make so it's she's been in there for about 30 days, and I've just realized that this is not going to happen. I don't want to kill someone that's good, so I put out ads, I'm hiring a new person, and then I'm
Sure.
moving her back to the position where she thrives.
Right
So,
butt
yeah,
in the right seats, right?
yep, right butt in the right seats. That would be another lesson, and then just taking action. So,
That's great. That's really
yep.
great. Well, let's move into talking about the marketing strategies that you've been using that you like the best. And there's a lot of different marketing strategies out there. What is a combination of marketing strategies that you've used that bring in the most leads and the most qualified leads?
Um, Most qualified leads is usually traditional media, TV, and newspaper is the most qualified. Um, the most quantity of leads is going to be Facebook. Um, I will also I'll get a decent amount of leads. I'll do like maybe a cheapy postcard, every door direct, and it's just an offer for a free book or a free download or free information, and that way I get them onto my list. And I manage all these people with Infusionsoft, which is a customer relationship management software.
Yep.
So it's just the Facebook leads, like I'll get like say a number of leads for like $2 to $3 up to $11, but they're typically the lowest quality leads, but I get so many of them that it pays off.
Per
With the
lead,
news
right?
per
That's
lead. With the
$3 to
new
$11 per
Yeah,
lead.
with the newspaper I'm spending $200 per butt in the office. but it's typically a much better quality lead.
Aha. Okay.
And then TV, it's $75 to $100. So,
Okay. Wow. That's really good. And thank you for sharing the numbers with us too. Um, let's so when you're doing that marketing, you are driving them through an incredible process, and you just have a very detail-oriented drip campaign, I think. And I wonder if you mind explaining exactly once you have a lead, what happens to the lead once it gets in your funnel.
okay. So, it's pretty common that I will have some kind of, if I'm doing a Facebook ad or one of those cheapy postcard things, typically what I'm doing is I'm offering them a free widget, a free information, free something, a reason for them to share their information. Because it's such a small area to do that. With a newspaper, I'll typically do a full page ad and I will have a double offer on there. I will have a direct offer, which is, say, a free consultation, driving them to come into the office.
Yep.
And then I will have the second offer, which is a lead generation tool. Let's just say I have an ad for back pain. Now, 4 out of 5 adult Americans will have back pain episodes at some point in their life. So I might have someone that has back pain 3 or 4 times a year. But Erica, if you don't currently have back pain and you see this ad, you might just glance through it.
Right.
If you are bent over like a question mark, you're going to look at that phone number and you're going to call it because you're going
Yeah.
to say, I need to get rid of this back pain. But let's just say I have something like a book about the best and worst back pain exercises or 5 things you really need to consider before you do an epidural or some kind of free bit of information. You're going to download that or you're going to call the number and you're going to ask to get that packet mailed to you. Because
Sure.
you really want to get those exercises, you really want to get those 5 foods that you really need to eat or 5 things you need to avoid, or just like a book about back pain. So
Hmm.
like I also wrote a number of different books. I'm trying to have 7 by the end of the year. I have 5 about various conditions, and these are just lead generation tools. So for those particular niches, if I have a book in it, the lead generation tool is a book, and I mail them the book for free.
So how big are your books?
10,000 words usually.
How
The
many?
shortest one is 8,000. The biggest one is 14,000. I think 10 to 12,000 is a good sweet spot. That's gonna like if it's a 5 by 8 book, a decent font, like 80 to 120 pages is decent. If you get bigger than that, it gets more to mail. Plus, it's a little bit more intimidating for someone to read.
Right. Okay. So you're doing like a real book size. It's a small book, but it's something that could be it could be looked at as more than a pamphlet.
Yeah, and
So
I
that's
just the ultimate marketing machine. I know I'm plugging GKIC, but that's a good product. So I bought that thing, used that thing, and I just followed that thing from start to finish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have little lead generation books as well. We write them for people, but we do them small, so they're almost like I heard somebody call them shooks, short books. So mine are anywhere from 10 to 30 pages, but they're you can't tell that in the ads anyway. So if you have a really nice title and it provides great information, you don't necessarily have to write 100 pages if you don't have time. Do
And
something more like a small report and
it
turn.
doesn't have to be that much. It's just
Sure.
it's easy because there's a lot of information on the topic. If you're doing things with social media, it's not like you have a wealth of different websites like Mayo and Spine and things like that. There's
Right.
like a lot of blogs and you're piecing it together and you don't probably want to give away the farm. You want to just give them enough information where they could take
Sure.
some action, but not everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's things change all the time with social media, so we're
Yeah.
constantly just even writing the updates on what the new rules are for the different platforms is hard enough for people to keep track of. Never mind what's the cutting edge things that we're doing. And like what you're doing, everything we do has a call to action on social media. So you're doing it with Facebook. You're driving them to a free report, a free book, a free appointment, whatever it is. But as long as you use those lead magnets and you drive them to that landing page, you can start a great list and you can put them through the funnel just like you're doing. And so I believe when we were talking before this started, you said that once they get into your Infusionsoft funnel, which is your marketing software, it helps you keep track of the leads and tags them as they're going through different processes and go through different checkpoints. You've got a certain amount of emails that go out. You've got different mailings that go out. I'm sure you have a shock and awe box, which is, just something that they might get at first if there's someone that's raised their hand and said that they're really interested in your topic. All of that, plus you have someone at the end making a phone call, or
Hmm.
maybe a few times in there. And I think that that's key. A lot of people miss that piece. Have you found that it really helps your conversion?
If you're not doing the old-fashioned low-tech phone call, you're missing the boat. That's where the conversion happens.
Right,
That's the part everyone wants the easy button. Everyone wants is magic funnel.
right.
Um, and I've kind of sold some of my funnels to a couple of my friends, and then I built out a thing where they could pay a monthly fee. So I actually purchased another Infusionsoft account, and then I have these funnels getting built in them, and they're using them. But I told them if you're not going to make the calls, don't even bother doing it,
Right,
because it's you're 10x, you're losing 10x by
right.
doing that. It's the and you have a telemarketing company as well, and you know that the phone call is the thing that really converts the people.
It's
So
totally true because a lot of times they see the thing come in the mail, they see the email, whatever it is, they see it, but life is so busy and it's overwhelming and sometimes it takes that personal touch of a phone call and even like holding their hand and if they wanted to do it, getting them to sign up for whatever it is. Here, let me help you out. I think that's phenomenal. I think you increase your closing ratio by something like 80% by
oh
adding
yeah,
that phone call at the end. It's amazing.
yeah. I might even say it's higher than that. Like
Really
it
good.
it dramatically it more than doubles your results just by adding the phone call. And then basically we phone, text, then phone, text, then phone and text them again. So every time we call them, we text them as well.
So
And
you're
then we
getting their
do,
cell phone number.
yes, and then we hit them up, at least 3 times with that. And that, usually if they get a live answer, like they'll call 25 people and they'll get a hold of like 3 to 5 of them. And the 3 to 5 people that they actually get a live answer for, they'll typically schedule 3 to 5 people. So it's not that they don't want to come in because they've opted in because they have a problem. They just, it's life's busy and they're busy with
Yes.
kids, they're busy with work, they're busy with golf, they're busy with trips. And, it's just an excuse to procrastinate, and people are procrastinators by nature.
Yeah, and it's got to be really bad for them to make that call and ignore everything. I can tell you.
Yeah.
I will work through the pain until I just can't deal with it. And then I go in and they always ask me to schedule my next appointment. I'm like, I don't know. I come in when it hurts. So I
Yeah.
know what you,
But like, I hit them up with email, I hit them up with text. I'm experimenting starting next week with a Facebook Messenger artificial intelligence thing that I mentioned
oh
in our
yeah.
last thing.
Yeah, we talked
And
about it on my interview with Brian Hahn.
yeah, like I think another key success strategy is just implementing. So I heard about it. So I called the guy, I signed up, and I've started implementing it. There's
Yep,
no FAQ for setting that up. This is a first time thing, so I'm just figuring out what I can do, what I can't do. And
sure.
I'm taking my already existing funnel and I paid a guy that I'm paying like a couple $100 an hour to get him to rework it and not being afraid to take a chance on it. And then I was also at another seminar the week after we were at Peak, and I was talking with one of the other docs that is in Florida that I know, and he's a very astute marketer and he's a consultant. And he's been doing really well with webinars and talking about every
Oh yeah,
webinar, which I've heard about. And,
I
you
really
know,
enjoy
it just,
working with these people. They're
so
really great.
yeah, I talked to him, say, on like the 15th. By like the 21st, I already had an ever webinar account, and by the end of the month, I already had the beginnings of it set up in my Infusionsoft. And then as of yesterday, I finished making my first webinar, like the model. And then, I purchase different info products on how to do things. So if I need to learn how to do things, I look at who's got info products on webinars, and I already have a couple, one from GKC, one from Lisa Sasevich, and I picked up Frank Kearns.
I've got hers too. Yep.
And then I just looked at all three of them, and then, I pulled out my credit card. I paid for them, but I'm trying to get accelerated knowledge. And
Sure.
rather than trying to figure this out the hard way, a lot of people try to be too cheap with that. And I just said, you know what? These guys have already figured out something. Let me figure out what they learn, and then let me just speed that process up. And a lot of people look at it as the money that you're outlaying, but a big aha moment that I had in my business before is if it takes me 1 year to figure this out or 2 years to kind of get it to the point that they have it mastered at, how
Yeah.
much money did I lose by doing that? How many patients did
Yeah.
I not help by doing that?
Yep.
So that would
Opportunity
be,
loss. Yep. That
it was an aha moment, and, I just read and implement.
every time I spend money on a course or read a book or whatever to learn something new for my business, I find that if I implement it, I get my money back tenfold. You know, if I execute
Absolutely.
it well. I mean, I'm not saying every single time that's happened, but I've always made my money back on on even investing in these masterminds that we're in. So it's I absolutely agree with you. So what is your favorite course is the next question that you've taken that has just like really changed your business? I know you've taken so many.
Um, if you're talking about business, my favorite course is probably um, Scaling Up by Varn Harnish, or, and I'm not a Scientologist, L. Ron Hubbard's business books. If you really want to scale your business up, marketing is great, sales is great, all these things, but if you're not running a proper business, those are probably two of my most favorite business sets of books.
Oh, good.
And
Excellent.
Scaling Up actually has a course. L. Ron Hubbard, the stuff is very old and antiquated. And yes,
Still
disclaimers.
works.
It works. It's the same principles. Like he's talking about some old-fashioned stuff, but like it's the general principles. And I have implemented a lot of those things in my business, and it makes it more of a business rather than a job. A lot of people have a business and they say they have a business, but if they leave, their business decreases in income. Mine
Right.
still decreases in income, so mine's still not quite there yet, but
Right.
I'm trying to get it to a point where if I leave for a month, things don't change.
Exactly. And I think that's the goal for everyone, unless they
Yep.
really just like working in the business and then they're just always going to have a job. I'd rather work on the
Yeah,
business.
I'd rather be in Grand Cayman.
Yeah, and I'm actually heading there next week.
Cool, jealous.
Yeah. It's a marketing cruise, so we'll be going to Cozumel and Montego Bay and Grand Cayman Island. And I've never been to any of those places, so I'm so excited.
It's really nice.
Okay, so let's see. So you've talked about books and courses that you like. What's the next big thing in your industry?
Big things that are happening right now is that in healthcare, it's traditionally been insurance based. You go to the doctor, you have quote unquote insurance that pays, you have a low deductible, you pay your copay, maybe a co-insurance, and you get taken care of. And the doctors just got paid. that's not happening anymore. It's as I was talking to you about, the insurance fights tooth and nail. There's more and more managed care popping up, even with PPOs. There's a lot more pre-authorizations trying to see if things are medically necessary, and that's just their way of managing money. They're reimbursing about a third or less of what they used to do in the 80s. Cost of
Wow.
living has gone up, inflation has gone up,
Yep.
and they're fighting you harder. And if they're fighting you harder, now you have to hire more staff just to chase down that money. So that is a trend. I'm young enough to see that, so I've said that I need to do a lot of cash service. And if I'm going to have people come in and pay cash out of pocket, so if people are coming in for therapy, this is my selling point. I don't take your insurance, I'm out of network, and you have to bill it yourself. That is very unsexy. So how we overcome that is I have really good staff, I have really good marketing, and they greet you by name. They smile, they're friendly, they're efficient. People hate waiting. That's something that people expect when you go to the doctor. I hate waiting, so I said, we're not going to have a waiting office. You come in the office, you're waiting 5 minutes max, and that's it. You're back and you're seeing someone, and you're not going back to a room where you wait another 30 to 45 minutes. You're
Yeah.
getting back and you're being seen. Another thing they hate is like rude providers with bad bedside manner that aren't very good. So
Right.
I pay more on average in my area for the providers that work for me because they're better. And
Great.
if I hire someone that's newer, they're always working directly with a seasoned person, and we're making them awesome, right?
Good.
So, like, we need to deliver the goods, and by doing that, we're able to charge for cash services. Like, we'll do stem cell procedures that are 9 to 15,000 out of pocket as well, and that's a treatment. So, like, to do these things, you have to offer really good service, and you also have to deliver the goods.
You're right. Correct.
So rather than waiting for insurances to just eventually, like my friends in Canada, one of my friends that's primary care, he gets paid $20 a visit. He'll see 55 to 75 patients in a day. Your average primary care in the US, a busy, 25 to 35 people in a day is what they're going to see. And that's a busy practice.
Right.
He'll see 55 on a slow day. He'll see as high as 80. He caps it at 80. He thinks that's just too much.
Huh. That's a lot.
So
That's a
that's a
lot.
lot, and
A
that's
lot of staff.
socialized medicine in Canada. So that's primary care, going to see your family doctor. So
Wow.
he's just cranking them out because he gets paid like, $25 a visit. He's got to pay a biller 8 to 10%. He's got to pay his staff. He might not get paid on some of them. So he has to crank them out in order to keep the doors open. He also they can't afford to have single doctor practices up there, so he's sharing an office with 13 other physicians in an
Wow.
office the size of mine.
That's
So,
amazing.
yes, so like a
A lot of
3,000
people
square
in a
foot
small
office,
area.
14 physicians. They're open 7 days a week. They're open 7 to 7, and they're just rotating throughout shifts, and they're
Wow.
doing other things. So it's just that's kind of what I'm picturing on my mind that healthcare could eventually get to, that Medicare could eventually get to. So rather than waiting for that to happen, I'm trying to take action now. So that's kind of what
That's
I'm
great.
seeing. They're already implementing a huge government mandate this year um, that I just have to do. I have to comply with, and it's I do that or I take a 9% penalty by the year 2022. And it's not going to change. So I could sit around and complain about it, or it could evolve. So,
Exactly.
just like your business, right? You're doing some kind of social media, then all of a sudden LinkedIn changes how they do
Yeah.
things and Facebook changes it, and you evolve.
It is
So,
good to evolve, yes.
yeah,
It's
and
called being forced into greatness, right?
exactly. And it happens in every industry. Everyone thinks it's just special to them. But a lot of people, they go to school, they graduate, they get their white coat, and they think that now they don't have to market, now they don't have to run a business. They think that they could just hang their shingle up and make a good living, and that doesn't happen anymore.
I know. I always say that you can be the very best at what you do, but if nobody knows who you are, you're not going to make any money.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
you'll be sitting there the best in your own lonely little office with no patients.
Yep, things are changing.
That's perfect. Well, do you have anything you'd like to offer the audience by way of any books or
Yeah, I actually here. Okay, where's my list? I thought I made a list. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, one thing, if people aren't already doing Audible on there, Audible is a company owned by Amazon. You don't already have a
yep,
Kindle. Most of the guys on your call probably already know about that, guys and gals. But if they don't know about it, do that. Podcast, my favorite podcast to listen to is Joe Polish.
yeah.
I absorb a lot of his stuff, and I always listen to I Love Marketing by Joe Polish, Polise. No, E, Polish, like Polish, yeah. H, yeah.
Polish.
Polish, sorry. And so I'll listen to that kind of podcast, but I'm always listening to either an audio course or an audio book in my car. So, as you know, you got a young child and I got young children and I want to maximize my time with them.
Yeah.
So now in my car, instead of listening to music, I'm listening to an audio book or an audio course. I love listening to music, but I need to maximize that time. If I'm going through an
Exactly.
airport, I'm usually listening to an audio book. I'm not jamming out to some beats. It, I love running to music, but a lot of times I will still do an audio book. I've just
Wow,
kind
that's
of
hardcore.
lear learned to kind of do it. Sometimes if I'm really tired and I just need that motivation, I got to put on the music that I want to hear. But audio books and just read 10 pages a day. No matter how busy you are, you can read 10 pages a day. And then there's a book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. It's just really a combination of a bunch of other success books. And one of the things in there, he talks about success is about doing all the regular mundane things over and over again and eventually getting a good result. So if I have a spinach and vegetable shake this morning with protein powder versus an egg McMuffin, is it going to have a dramatic effect on my life today? No. If I do that for a week, not really. For a month, maybe a little bit. If I do that for a year, absolutely. 5 years, 10 years, and that makes a big difference. So I have a number of different books like
I
Theory
love
of
that
Cons-
book, by the way. I used to give it away to everyone. It was like one of the books that I'd love
oh,
to
The
give
Slight
to
Edge.
clients.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
no. Slight
it's
Edge is
phenomenal.
a really
I
good
have
book.
audio.
Yeah, I like Theory of Constraints. I like that book. Lean Manager is a good book. I've said Scaling Up. There's another book called Traction by Gino Wickman. I like
Wow.
that. E-Myth is good, but the problem with Michael Gerber is his book is a good book. I recommend it to everyone, but it's a bunch of parables, and it doesn't really give you a lot of how-tos. If you read Scaling Up, he will give you some of the stories, but he will literally tell you a step-by-step process at how you implement
That's
that.
helpful.
And
Yeah.
I've told that over and over and over again. I said that in peak a couple of meetings, but like anyone that is not reading that book that has more than one employee is missing the boat. So, and if you have several employees, it is huge, huge, huge. Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine, Grant
I love that.
Cardone, anything Grant Cardone for sales. A weak point for a lot of small businesses is that they are terrible at sales.
Yeah.
So you either have to get really good at sales or you gotta understand that you can't be the best at everything and you need to
Exactly.
hire someone that's better than you. So for
Exactly.
me, I am a very bad CFO. So like I'm
Okay.
good at school, but like it bores me to death. So fortunately, my wife has a business degree. That's what she used to do. She used to be a financial analyst, managing hundreds of thousands, millions, several hundred million for some accounts, like for a big, large military contractor, making sure that they spent every penny of the government's money. That's what she was really good at. So if they were being too efficient, she would help them become less efficient. And if they're not efficient enough, she would help them become more efficient. But her goal was to make sure that they spent every penny of the tax dollars money, and it's pretty sad, but she was really good at it. So,
Well,
but
there
she
you go.
was,
But that's going to help you if she uses those powers for good.
yeah, she uses it was good for the corporation, and that's how she gets
Yeah,
promoted. And if she was not good at that, she would have been fired. So she was just doing her job of what her employer asked for her to do. So I realized that I am not a good bookkeeper. I'm a bad CFO. I'm bad at doing P&L, so I need to have someone else do that. The
right,
insurance stuff bores the crap out of me, so I've delegated that. But like, I still check on that. You need to know enough how to check on that. And for every small business, like if you're a bad closer, you need to either get really good at closing, or you need to bring someone in as an independent and bring them in as a closer.
right,
Another thing that most small businesses fail at next is that they usually are weak at marketing. So you either need to bring in someone that's really good at marketing and train them, or you have to do that. And that's the problem with a small
exactly.
business is that you have to wear 10 different hats. You got to be the sales guy. You got to be the technician. You got to be the operations. You got to be the CFO. You got to be the CEO. You got to
Yeah.
be that. But like,
And then
and then,
eventually you hire people to take over those positions. We are running up against the clock.
oh, yep,
Um,
yeah.
and
But
it's incredible, and these topics you can really talk about for weeks. I mean, that's why people have seminars and courses and, go to college for this stuff. But, you're absolutely right. I feel like I've learned more from the courses that I've taken, just, buying them at these seminars than I ever did in school, because you get the stuff that people are really using and really works. So I love that you've mentioned so many, books and courses that people can check out and start forming a business that's going to work for them, not that they have to work for in the long run. So I do want to thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it. And as far as Daily Lead Campaign goes, just keep a lookout for more interviews like these for Great Minds, Great Marketing on our website at dailyleadcampaign.com. And we do have some events coming up. Stay tuned for that. We are going to be announcing dates for the next video marketing and implementation workshop. If you would like to get the book that goes with it, 7 Sizzling Secret Video Marketing Tactics, you can also find that on the website URL that I just gave. And thanks so much for joining us today again, Dr. Hashimoto. I'll look forward to, well, I'm going up to Platinum now, so I won't see you at the next meeting. But hopefully I'll see you at the next big event, like the super conference coming up.
yep, I'll see you there.
Okay, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.